Hey, welcome back to Among the Noise. We took a break for like 3 weeks because everyone's been busy, and we had been talking about Obi-Wan for every time that an episode had come out, but that plan didn't really happen. So we are going to cover the last 3 episodes, basically, and the series as a whole. So I've got my brother Ben here and Jacob, 2 people that you've seen before.
What's up?
Yep.
We are going to start with a question unrelated to Obi-Wan, but related to Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
What is your favorite Star Wars planet? This could be canon, like movies and TV shows that are going on, or legends, like, old games and books and stuff like that. So,
I'll
Jacob?
say, my favorite one to see and is Mustafar, I'd say. Just because Darth Vader's little palace or castle, whatever you want to call it, is awesome.
Yeah.
And you see it in the sequel trilogy when Kylo Ren's busting through it trying to get the Sith artifact. And you hear the lore behind it. And I really like that one.
Yeah.
It's a good choice.
Yeah.
Mine would definitely be Kashyyyk.
I knew it.
Yeah. I didn't think about that.
Both in the films and the movies and the shows and stuff, like it's just such a cool planet, but also like every game that it has been incorporated in, like Lego Star Wars or Battlefront, like it's
You haven't even played Knights of the Old Republic.
no, I have not.
It's a good level.
That's where Kashyyyk really shines because it's where we really first see the planet. But you deal with like the Wookiee tribes and like the political stuff there, but then you go down to the Shadowlands where, since the trees are so big,
Nothing lives down there.
there's no light down there. It's just like pure darkness.
Oh.
And so there's like really weird creatures and
The star map is down there.
yeah, the star map that you go and find. And you just you have a Wookiee companion. So obviously he's from Kashyyyk, and you deal with like his father, who used to be the leader of the tribe, and his brother like took over, and there's like a lot of drama there. It's so good.
And then you get a life debt from a Wookiee.
Yeah. Well, you get that before, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd be weird to go back for you to go back and play it now, but
It's in the new Star Wars game, isn't it too?
it was in it said Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good in that.
Yeah.
And they actually brought back one of the creatures from Knights of the Old Republic in that game, the little monkeys, the tax.
Mm-hmm.
They brought those back.
Yeah, they did.
So yeah, Kashyyyk is a really good planet.
Mm-hmm.
And you spend a lot of time in that game on there too.
Yeah, that was a fun part of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going back to
Well, Brad, what's your favorite?
going back to Knights of the Old Republic,
Mm-hmm.
my favorite is Manan.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a giant water world. And when you go there, like you see the ship fly in and it's just all water. And then you just go to this little floating city and that's it. And the native species is the Selkath. And they're like fish people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And that's where Bacta comes from.
well, it's
Is it?
Kolto.
Oh,
No.
whatever.
Because it's like thousands of years in the past. So it's like
okay.
a completely different substance, but I think it's basically the same.
Okay.
But I think in the Legends lore, like something happened to Manan. So there was no more Kolto by the time of the movies.
Gotcha.
So they had moved on to Bacta. Yeah.
Gotcha. Half right.
Deep cuts there.
Still hurts.
Yeah. So let's jump into episode or part 4.
I know. I catch myself saying episode too.
Yeah,
but
which I
they've
mean, they're
done-
episodes, but
Yeah.
then you get confused with the actual Star Wars episodes. So this one came out 3 weeks ago now.
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy. But so this was the one that Obi-Wan comes back from being like burnt alive, and I'll put some screenshots up here to help us with the remembering this episode since it was a while ago. So he's in the Bacta tank, not the Kolto tank.
Yeah.
And he gets these flashbacks, but it also there's like the parallel between him and Vader in the tanks, because then it shows Vader, and then they didn't get any flashbacks though.
I know, I thought was a perfect opportunity to do it.
Yeah,
yeah, and they were. It almost seemed like they were like becoming more aware of each other, or not necessarily aware, but they were almost like just battling each other, just based on their mental anguish of what they're going through.
Yeah,
because really, I don't think either one of them, up to like this point in the series, knew each other were alive.
I mean, Vader
most of all
probably
like
did, but
well, maybe. I mean, we don't know. Like,
I think
for all intents and purposes, for the last 15 years, Obi-Wan's been like completely non-existent. Like, I would assume he's dead.
Yeah, but like kind of this whole point is him. He's been searching for him. Mm-hmm. That's why he has the Inquisitors kind of out there looking.
Yeah. You could argue that he was just searching just to look, just to see, but he was also still hunting the Jedi. I mean,
I mean, there had been no reports of him dying because last time
he got shot down by Cody.
The last time Vader and Anakin had seen him was when he was being burned alive.
Right. And he
okay.
So that was after like Order 66 and everything.
Yeah. Oh, that was after. Shoot.
So, yeah, he knew that he was probably alive, but he just has been like, that's like his only goal is to find Obi-Wan. And the previous episode where he gets burned, apparently it's like a fantasy that Vader's had. Like ever since that happened, in the comics, like they're actually canon comics that show him fantasizing about doing exactly what he did. And those were comics like released like years ago.
Right.
So
that's cool that they incorporated.
Yeah, they
that
actually did it.
I mean, he even like vocalizes like, "I want you to suffer like I did."
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, which was a really good plot of the story, or not plot, but little scene.
Yeah, that scene was so good.
So good.
Yeah, just you could see the fear on Obi-Wan and like the surprise of like, oh crap, this is Anakin. Like, wow.
Yeah.
It was like his whole world was just like coming back to life and crashing like in front of his eyes.
Right.
Which then sets up 4 and 5 to like
him come back.
Yeah, so 4, he like doesn't even like stay in the tank to heal. He just gets up and is like, "Oh, we need to keep moving." And they take him back to the place where the Jedi path or whatever, like the underground railroad for Jedi, basically.
Yeah.
And now he sees that there's so many Jedi out there that still need help, and that kind of kicks him in his pants a little bit.
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I probably should do something." But then
you're just tasked with Luke and Leia.
Yeah, so his priority is still Leia, but obviously he's still wanting to help these people too. Speaking of Leia, she gets captured and brought back to the fortress, and Reva is interrogating her.
She was a little badass. She was really brave.
Yeah, she
like fake cried and everything.
Yeah,
She was like,
I was
"I'm not
like-
telling you anything." I was like,
Yeah.
"Damn."
that was impressive.
Yeah.
She is like
brave little
supposed to be
kid.
10 years old, but like the actress that they have for her is like
She's good.
She's also literally 10 years old too, but
Wow.
You could see,
Really?
yeah.
you could see in a point where she was acting so good, where you could tell like she was giving off genuine fear, and she goes, I'm not telling you anything. And I was like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah. It's crazy how like she acts like she's 5, maybe even 10 years older than she is.
Yeah.
I looked her up and I was expecting her to be like a little bit older than
Yeah, like maybe
her character, but
Maybe like
11 or 12 or something like that. But yeah, the side character development of Leia through this series is just as cool as like Ewan McGregor, like
oh yeah.
coming back to life again, and like the whole plot of like him and Vader and everything. But like the Leia,
And even Luke in this
starting
last
to-
episode in the finale too.
yes, yeah,
Even though it wasn't much, it was still good to see.
yeah. Which eventually, like, we'll get to talk about like the finale, and like Obi-Wan has that like final moment with Leia of like, you know, I'm so proud of you. You like, you have all of these characteristics about you and stuff. And it was cool just for them as the writers to like slowly develop those things throughout the, throughout the series in her, to literally be like what Carrie Fisher was.
Yeah.
Like that was the coolest thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was half expecting him to say Leia Skywalker, but I was like, he won't do that. No, he won't do that.
That would
He
not
said
be
Leia
good.
Organa. I was like, missed opportunity. But that's okay.
I mean, do you really think that they would do that? Like, because she's not supposed to know.
I know.
She'd be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, I don't know. Kids don't know nothing. You just been like, that's a weird thing to say, but okay.
Yeah, I think the cool part about 4 and 5 for Obi-Wan battling this like internal battle of trying to save the people that he is with, along with Leia, along with trying to figure out how to like stop Reva and Vader from just like completely wiping all of them out.
Right.
And he like has this realization, like he's here for me. He only wants me. He doesn't want any of you people. He's only like here for me. Because he's starting to see like the slow collective formations of like the rebellion. Like these are the people that are eventually going to like go spur the movement of the rebellion at some point.
Yeah, he
especially
literally
Leia.
says,
Yeah.
you
Yes.
are the future.
Yeah. So I really liked that scene where he is like standing behind the door and Reva's on the other side and she's like talking to him like through
That's
the
in the
door.
next one, isn't it?
That's in
I
5,
think it's
yeah.
in 5.
We can
yeah.
move to 5 now.
Yeah.
The only other thing in 4 was.
Well, I had some notes on 4.
Yeah,
I,
we
I
can
saw
stay on
the rebreather underwater with him going into the fortress. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And Leia finds herself in a detention center again.
Yeah. Well, for the first time.
Well,
but
for
yeah.
the first time.
Right. Yeah.
To foreshadow her being in one again.
Yeah.
The walkie-talkie being left behind, like in the originals, when you're just like,
Yeah.
"Hello, can you hear me?
And
Are
it
you
was
there?"
like the same model of it too. Like, literally the same. This isn't showing all the screenshots I have.
And that one character who lost his wife regards Obi-Wan as general. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he knows him. That's awesome."
I don't know if he like knows him. Like
He knew of him.
he knew
had
of
to
him.
have.
Yeah, he knew of him. Yeah, because I mean,
How would you
Obi-Wan
not?
was legendary
Yeah.
in the Clone Wars. Yeah, so was Anakin. Yeah, those were really good.
But going into 5,
There's one more thing. When I had the screenshots here, but it's not
I
showing them.
think the guy who lost his wife was Ice Cube's son. You know who Ice Cube is?
Yeah.
I think that was him.
Yeah. Really?
I think if not, he looks a lot like him. I really think so. I can look it up. But
His name is O'Shea Jackson.
yep, that's him.
That's
So
cool.
I think Ice Cube's last name is Jackson.
He's
I could be wrong.
he was really good, even though his part
Yeah.
was like pretty small.
Yeah, his lines were good. He delivered them well.
He does look a lot like Ice Cube now that I'm like thinking about his face and everything.
Let me see if I can get the rest of these pictures. The scene where he is he's like going throughout the facility and like hiding from the stormtroopers, and then he like uses the like basically the same move that he uses in A New Hope.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
Again, it showed that he was like slowly like regaining his abilities.
Yeah.
And the scene where he goes in to save Leia from the like when she's like strapped on the thing, and it's just like pitch black except for the stormtroopers, and this scene right here,
that
was cool.
I loved that.
I wish they did more up close on it and like dragged it out a little more.
Yeah, I wish they would have had like more stormtroopers there, maybe like those purge troopers.
Yeah.
To like it still be dark, but he's like actually fighting them,
like making them freak out.
Yeah.
Oh man, that would have been so cool. But yeah.
Yeah, but what they did was this the one that was like super short? Or was that the next one?
4 was short. 5 was like 45 minutes, and then the finale was like an hour.
I feel like 5 was the shortest one. The one was like only 30 minutes, and it was really weird.
Right before we came here.
So speaking of that battle scene, what is with Disney right now? Because it's only been the Disney films that have done this, where all the lightsaber scenes are just like they are not the same as like all of the other films. Like they're not like going through people. It's like it's like striking people and like showing sparks instead of like cutting off limbs or like slicing through people. Like every other film before Disney, it was like the lightsaber was like it would just go right through somebody, and it was like the pinnacle weapon.
I mean,
it's probably a rating thing, because when in that scene, I specifically remember like it went pew, and it like the sparks flew instead of like his head falling off.
Like any interaction with a stormtrooper when he like strikes them down, it's like.
It just it just cuts like right here.
You just see like a strike mark and like sparks, or even like in the fight scenes in I think it's either Boba Fett or The Mandalorian with Ahsoka, like the same thing, like all of her.
I think I remember that, too. It was pretty subpar.
I mean, in Boba Fett when Mando shows up in that butchery. And he's got the Darksaber. He's just cutting people's limbs off.
I know, which is why it's so confusing, because like they clearly
maybe it's a light side thing.
Do it.
Yeah, so it happened in the original trilogy too, in Return of the Jedi, with Luke on the sail barge. He should have every hit that he hit people with his lightsaber should have chopped things off.
Yeah,
you never see that happen.
Yeah,
maybe it's a light side thing.
I think it's just
that happens a lot because I mean
it's a rating and also an outlook thing. I think George himself has said something like Jedi aren't supposed to kill people even if it's in defense. Yeah, like it's
injuring them enough
silly.
To go down.
I don't agree with it, but
it also gives way to like the light side and the dark side. I mean. Like how somebody was talking about episode 5 where Obi-Wan and Anakin were fighting, how Anakin was like on the offensive the whole time, like trying to kill Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan was always on the defensive to prove like we're not meant to kill, we're meant to defend. And I think to your question, I think it's really just a light side thing because I mean Vader, like he just stabbed the third sister like right in the chest. It was like
it's off screen.
Yeah, that's true, but still,
I wonder if it's like a Disney thing, like they don't want to have films with their name on it where they are like visibly like.
I don't think it's a Disney thing. I think it's a Lucasfilm thing. Because I
Could be.
mean, Disney, they did Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, I don't think it's a Disney thing, but it also is probably a rating thing as well. I think Lucasfilm just doesn't want, especially for Obi-Wan, who's like considered like the ultimate hero character. They don't want him. They don't want kids to see him like chopping people up.
I mean, the final 3 films with Rey, like they were all like that too. None of the lightsaber scenes had any
Dismemberments.
action. Yeah. What's the word I want to use here for this? Like,
Yeah.
I
mean, it's the same
I
thing.
think it's like weirdly ironic that it's like right when like Disney took over, they like stopped doing those type of scenes.
Yeah, I mean,
'Cause,
because it
yeah.
does happen in Clone Wars.
Yeah.
There's a scene where Ahsoka beheads like 5 people at once.
Yeah.
And in like Revenge of the Sith, chops Dooku's head off.
Yeah.
True.
So
Or like when they're on Geonosis and they're like, he's like slicing Geonosins like in half this way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I really don't think it's that much to do with Disney.
could just be a weird cinematography thing, or
I think it's just
I don't know.
Kathleen Kennedy's Lucasfilm.
Oh yeah.
She's very particular about a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
So who knows?
We'll see.
But I mean, we saw it in Boba Fett, which was a very like darker than some of the other things that
Yeah,
we've seen
sure.
so far. And I feel like with the upcoming show, The Acolyte, which is supposed to focus on Sith characters, probably see more of that because
Yeah.
they're supposed to be bad people. So, yeah, I think it just depends on the context.
They're not bad people. They're just hurting.
I mean, yeah, those are the best villains is when
Yeah.
you can relate to them, but I feel like they would be more willing to show how violent they actually are.
Except for Sidious, she's not really hurting. He's just the prick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some villains are just
Naughty.
evil. Evil.
So we're ready for episode 5 now?
Yeah, so we can go right into episode 5.
I think the flashback was really cool and much needed. The
Yeah.
graphics for the de-aging stuff was not super great.
I don't think they de-aged him at all.
They did. They took out a bunch of his wrinkles. He has like pronounced wrinkles like I do on his face right now. Hayden Christensen, yeah. He is aged quite a bit. But
I
yeah,
wouldn't say quite a bit.
they said, well, it's been what, 20 years?
Yeah, but he was just at he's been doing a lot of interviews and stuff. He's at
But-
Celebration and he looked
But
pretty
no,
good.
they were who's I
It was
watching about?
pretty good
They-
for what they did.
Yeah.
It looked like they
'cause
didn't do it at all.
They said they made his jaw more pronounced or something, or took a bunch of the wrinkles out of his. They said it on New Rock Stars. I don't know if you know what that is. But they like
no
deep
idea.
dive into the Easter eggs of every single like nerdy stuff. But they were saying, yeah, they de-aged him and they de-aged Ewan McGregor because this flashback takes place before Clone Wars because Anakin has both hands
Yeah, it
and he
takes
has
place-
a blue saber.
Yeah,
So
before
he's supposed to like be, 20s, something like
it was
that.
supposed to be before Attack of the Clones.
Right. Exactly.
Because he still has his old lightsaber, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what he was like. You'll still be a Padawan, or a Padawan you shall always be, or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was
was
really well done.
It was great. Their moves lined up almost perfectly with Revenge of the Sith
Yeah.
duel.
Yeah.
So like you could tell that they obviously had been like practicing on each other for so long that they just knew what the other person was going to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And somebody I was watching it with noticed a parallel between Luke in the last episode of the originals and that fight scene with him and Vader and this scene with Obi-Wan and Anakin. Like, Luke, when he had Vader cornered, like on the ground, like, don't strike me anymore. Like, Luke just turned off his saber and was like, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
But Anakin, when he was attacking Obi-Wan and had him cornered, he just kept going.
Yeah, he was going to do it.
So it was like a difference in between.
In
like,
the
father and
flashback
son.
scene, or like in the actual, like when he was Vader?
No, in the flashback.
Oh, okay.
In the flashback,
yeah. Yeah, I really liked the purpose, I think, of the flashback was not only to show like the fight scenes, and it was like cool to like see them when they were still friends and everything, but the dialogue
Oh, yeah.
while they were doing that was like the whole purpose of it. It was
Oh,
like
yeah. It just like foreshadowed what was going on.
Yeah.
Because it kept cutting. As there was one where it was when Obi-Wan said, like what you said, like, you'll still be a Padawan if you like always focus on the victory or whatever. And then it cuts right to Vader's face, his helmet, that shot right there. Not that shot specifically, but like that. And it was a scene where he was like, yeah, we're going to get Obi-Wan. Like, yeah, it was.
And when
Perfect.
The opening scene for that, or not the opening scene, but the start of that scene, when Anakin was overlooking Coruscant, like off in the corner was Padme's building. He was just like staring right at it.
Yeah.
So, and he hadn't, I don't think he'd seen her yet, right? Yeah, because he hadn't seen her until Clone Wars. So he was,
assuming that is before any scenes in Clone Wars.
Yeah, it would have been before Attack of the Clones, so I don't even think it would have been her building yet. But I think it was intentional that they put it there, that he was looking that direction.
She was definitely
That's
there.
true. 'Cause at the
I don't
beginning
think
of
he
that
was
film-
actually looking at it because she hadn't even moved back yet.
No, yeah. The beginning of that
yeah,
movie
you're
is where
right.
she's flying in.
That's
Yeah.
true. I
But-
didn't think about that, but still.
But it was definitely intentional.
yeah. You could sense the longing of like, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, another really like cool thing about this scene was like, or this episode, I'm sorry, was like the slow like inclination that like Reva has like just a little bit of like good left in her,
Yeah.
and that she's
And her true intentions.
yeah
Because Obi-Wan really kind of made her off kiltered to be like, hey, like,
Yeah.
you know,
that's I love
wasn't me.
love that scene when they're like both on the other side of the door
Oh, yeah.
and talking to one another, and
Yeah. And he didn't even have to ask the question. He just was like, he just said it like statement. Like you knew him. Like you were there.
yeah
And she didn't even say a word.
And
Yeah.
her saber came through. Like,
yeah then we get the pure raw just absolute
Is it showing that screenshot of that scene? I don't think it is.
I don't think it is, no. This is like I think one of the coolest Vader scenes.
yeah.
Just-
This is Vader at his climax of power.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think
Or at
it is
least
supposed to be
ramping up
showing
to his
it.
climax at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we've never seen him like that on screen before.
Just every scene he's in with his force powers is like almost like you're playing Force Unleashed again. And you're
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh
what it's
my
not.
god.
That was the game I was trying to think of the other day. I was like, I know there is a scene where you're like Vader or somebody and you're like pulling down a ship or
Star
something.
Killers.
Yeah,
like,
you're
grabbing
Vader's
onto it.
apprentice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're literally pulling down a Star Destroyer from the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene was so cool. Of just him like ripping apart the
Yeah, like I was not expecting it at all.
Yeah.
I just thought at first when like he like finishes and he sees that it's empty and then the other ship just takes off. I was like, oh, was it actually there? Because I didn't even see it either. And then like I replayed it and it was like clearly there, but just like hidden a little bit. Like
And they were all probably like, oh,
yeah.
Hopefully he doesn't just like explode this whole place.
Yeah. And luckily they took off just fast enough to where he like couldn't really like do it.
Yeah, I was thinking like, couldn't he have just done the same
I thought that
thing?
too, but then I rewatched it. I was like, it was pretty fast.
I
like,
feel
they
like
got
he
out
was
of there
also
pretty
sensing
fast.
Reva was coming up behind him.
Yeah.
Going, "Grr!" So
Yeah.
he was probably like,
Yeah, because that happened literally as soon as they pulled away. She comes up.
Yeah. And that fight scene was cool.
It was amazing.
So cool. My favorite fight tactic, or I guess like move of Vader's that we've seen in this series of like all the different fight scenes he's done, is the Force ability to prevent a lightsaber from like moving with his hand.
Yeah.
Like he does it in like 3 different fights where like the lightsaber comes in and he just like holds it there.
yeah.
Like, oh my god.
It's similar to like in Empire Strikes Back when he's at that dinner table and Han and
Yes.
Leia come in.
Yeah.
Stopping the
He's
blaster
like
bolt.
shooting him, and he's stopping with his hands.
Yeah.
That's what it kind of reminded me of.
Yeah.
And Kylo Ren has that power too.
Yeah. Yeah, because in this scene, he doesn't even draw his lightsaber
No.
for the first half of it.
He
Well, actually,
never
he never
does.
does. He uses hers,
Yeah,
right?
he uses one half of hers. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so
it's
cool.
yeah. Yeah, he doesn't he like break it in half and he like tosses it to her.
I mean, they're able to be like
okay, yeah,
snapped
able
in
to
half.
separate.
yeah, but he like
Yeah.
tosses her a half, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Okay, you really want to fight?
Yeah,
Let's
gave
do
her like a
this."
fighting chance.
It was a cool half second where he had a double saber, and I was just like, Darth Maul, I miss you.
No, but like when he was holding both of them, it almost looked like he was about to go into a pose like Ahsoka does.
Oh, that would have been cool.
He kind
Just
of
like
did
throw
it,
it backwards.
just not like as like agile as she would have done it.
Gosh, could you imagine?
But
He just throws him upside down. She just wails on her. Oh man,
yeah,
that would have been sad, but still like cool.
Another really cool thing about Vader that I've noticed through this series that I didn't really like stand out to me in like 4, 5, or 6 or anything was how tall and like overwhelming they make him in this film.
Yeah,
Like he is like 2 feet taller than her when they're fighting. It's unreal how tall they make him, which it's good. Like that.
I mean
think
that's how he was in the original trilogy.
Yeah, but I don't
He's
think it was.
towering over everyone.
I don't think it was as noticeable in those films, or at least it wasn't like focused quite like how tall he was until like I think this fight scene made it super like stark to me that it was like, holy crap, he's just so freaking big.
I think the only scene that I can think of where he's towering over somebody is when in Revenge of the Sith, where him and Sidious are looking through that window, and he's just arms crossed, and Sidious is like way down here. Oh shit, he's huge. But
yeah,
and then you see him in the behind the scenes pictures of Hayden Christensen, and he's like towering over everyone. I'm like, oh wow.
yeah. That's one of the reasons why they chose Hayden was because he was so tall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Go ahead.
Do you guys think that he
There we go.
knew he didn't kill the third sister, or yeah,
I think so.
because like, or I don't know, like he kept her alive for a certain motive or a different purpose? Maybe he could turn her again later in the next season or something.
At first I kind of assumed it was just like she was probably gonna go back to Obi-Wan. So maybe he was gonna try to like follow her or something. But then we saw in the finale that wasn't the case. But I don't know.
I think he like proved to her like in that fight, like, you are nothing to me. Like, this was not a difficult
Oh yeah.
He's
excursion or
yeah.
skirmish. That like, you're nothing. I don't even care like what you do with the rest of your life. Like,
Yeah,
you're not.
like the Grand Inquisitor says, just like, we'll put you back where we found you, in the gutter.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, I knew that the Grand Inquisitor was not dead truly, but
Right.
I loved that it was just like they knew the whole time. And like it was just like a ruse to like get her to show her true motivation.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the actress that played her did a really good job in this series.
Yeah.
Like in the first couple episodes, you're really questioning, like, is she scary? Is she like overcompensating? Like you couldn't really like quite buy her as an Inquisitor, and that was like
Yeah.
the entire point.
Yeah. I kind of noticed that she was probably going to turn to the light side when she was about to torture Leia, and she was just like, "It's your last chance."
Yeah, like she never really
All
did.
right, it's your second last chance. Are you sure? This is your choice.
Yeah. Yeah, there was always something off. Mm-hmm. And like her overcompensating, like especially in the first couple episodes, like the very first scene with her, like all the Inquisitors are like just trying to find a Jedi on Tatooine, and she's like about to like literally just kill people, and like totally overcompensating, and the other Inquisitors are just like, that might be a little much.
This is a red flag.
Yeah, if you have a red flag among murderers, then there might be a problem.
Right.
But obviously, it's because she just wasn't all in.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked how this episode went. I like how it ended to like set up for the finale.
Yeah.
Because you knew exactly like where this was going. The only question mark I had after this episode was over, 5, and this was before I had seen 6, was, does Vader know anything about Leia from being there? Any like sense of like his own child being there, like any sense of like Reva's interactions with her, hiding her, like anything? And there wasn't.
I had that question too. I think that sense maybe comes, I don't know, it maybe comes from a light side perspective, because he didn't know, like he threw Obi-Wan under all those rocks in that one episode. Was it the finale? He threw Obi-Wan under all those rocks and he just walked away. It was like,
yeah,
I beat you. And then he turns around and was like, wow, you're alive. So I think, because he couldn't find Obi-Wan all this time, because I mean, I feel like Jedis have more of a sense of being able to find people, and Obi-Wan clearly cut himself off from the Force, so he didn't know about Anakin.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I think it's more of him being blinded by rage and the pain that he just doesn't care.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he also assumed that Padme died. He doesn't know.
He didn't know about.
He doesn't know about Luke until episode 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Before episode 5, really.
Yeah.
The movie.
Yeah. Empire
Yeah.
Strikes Back.
Yeah, I guess even Reva doesn't know who Leia is.
No.
She just
She doesn't know who Luke
knew
is either when
that-
she goes and hunts him.
Right. She just knew they were two people that are pressure points for Obi-Wan.
Exactly.
So, yeah, which was like finally answered for me in episode 6 when she like went to go after Luke, and I was like, okay, yeah, she has no idea who they really are.
Yeah. Yeah, the only reason she went after Luke was because of the transmission that she overheard.
Yeah.
And she probably knew it was Bail Organa. I mean, you couldn't tell it from the appearance, but the voice. And she knew who Bail Organa was. So, yeah.
All right. So into the finale now.
Yep.
Finale time.
So I want to talk about how horribly Owen has aged in comparison to his wife. Like, his wife looks like, and he looks like 70.
70.
Yeah.
That one might be a little
Okay,
stretch.
he looks in his 50s, and she looks like she is barely approaching 40.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, I think they're like partial explanation for like the aging thing, because you could say the same thing about Obi-Wan in
Yeah.
in A New Hope.
It was 10 years, but I mean, you saw Owen
Well, I mean,
like
like
that, and you're like, he looks like a teenager.
I
And
mean,
then you see him
Obi-Wan
10 years later, you're like, wow.
in A New Hope
Oh,
compared
yeah,
to
that's true.
Obi-Wan 10 years. It's supposed to be like 10 years later.
Yes.
Like
the aging of Obi-Wan in 10 years.
Yeah.
From
So,
the end of,
yeah. Obviously,
the
there's
age
like
is 40 years.
it's just because that's how it was made. But a lot of people say that it's because the Tatooine, since they have 2 sons and they're in the desert all the time, it like really like puts age on you.
Interesting.
No moisture, yeah.
Yeah, so
Fair
I
enough.
think
That makes sense.
I think that's like a good enough of an explanation.
Yeah, and he's a
I'm
crazy
satisfied
old.
with that.
He's a crazy old man when you first see him going, scaring off that guy. Oh, shit. I think we
This episode was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
It was. I think it throws it up there to like top 2 best
It is definitely
like Star Wars
Yeah.
cinematic stuff.
Yeah, I was going through finding these screenshots, and
it made me emotional.
every shot was just like the shot itself. Every shot was just so good. Like that, like those shots like that are on the screen right now.
So good.
Like
So good. It put you in there.
perfect.
Yeah, that's like a
Gave you the real depth of what was going on.
Yeah.
And that picture,
Yeah.
wow. When he was talking to him and it was Hayden's voice, I was like,
Yeah, it like kept going it like back and
Yes!
forth a little bit. It
it
was
was so good.
that was
When he
so
said,
good.
he was just like, no, Obi-Wan. And it switched to Vader. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is hitting all the right spots.
yeah. Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just saying that whole fight scene, like the colors, the shadows, the shots, everything was just so good. And it was like peak Vader and peak Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Like Obi-Wan finally like got back everything that he once was.
Maybe
Yeah.
even more because
Yeah.
the rock scene.
Yeah, when he got out of there,
He was
like did the
like a
whole
god.
Jesus thing and just
Yeah.
like crashing him with all these
Yeah,
rocks.
he was like, "How dare you throw rocks on the top of me? See how it feels." And just-
Yeah. And there's a scene like the shot where like he's like being pummeled by the rocks. Vader is, and like you kind of feel bad for him like a little bit.
I did.
Like stop
like you just-
pummeling him.
Yeah.
yeah,
And then he completely destroyed when he was just, like hammering away at his chest piece. I was like, yeah, you get him.
yeah.
Use the chair.
And he slashed his helmet open. I was like, damn, his helmet's really big if his head's all the way down there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so good.
Yeah.
And I noticed in a lot of the scenes where when in the first half where Vader was winning, he was striking him with one arm and blocking with the other and striking just because he's basically, you know,
He's massive.
he's massive and he's just a cyborg. So he
Yeah.
can't like do all the same like, you know, Revenge of the Sith like
Yeah.
stuff that he used to. So he's literally just boom, boom.
But
Yeah,
he did a little bit.
A little bit.
There were a couple times when he would like spin on the backside and he would like have his lightsaber like
Yeah.
and do some like stuff that he definitely didn't do in like A New Hope or like any of the other films.
Right.
But going into it, and then the second half of the fight, you saw Vader grabbing with two hands because he's like, all right, this is a two-hand fight. now."
Yeah, he like holds it almost like a Jedi,
Mm-hmm.
like because you never really see him like hold it with two hands, even in the original films.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you saw Ewan McGregor do the backward shot. And he goes,
Yes.
bam!
Yeah,
I think that was like a thing to all the people that made fun of all the flippy around scenes with the lightsabers back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, this is like weird sword fighting as a way to like, shut up.
yeah,
This is cool.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, they did a good job of like combining like the prequel style fighting, where it's like kind of over the top but like flashy, with like the super like emotional from the original films. And
Yeah,
like,
it's those little details
Yeah.
that really made that fight scene
yeah,
bridge the gap because this episode for me I have never put like A New Hope up there in like my top 5.
not even close.
No.
But this alone I think like bridged the gap enough to have like a way better love for A New Hope because now like especially that scene where you see like Hayden's eye coming through the mask and
all
like
yellow.
their final exchange of like this is the end, like you are completely like lost, you like are no longer my friend kind of a
I
thing.
am not your failure. I killed Anakin.
Yeah, like that scene made me like A New Hope a lot more because you now see like the huge emotional side of all of
Yeah.
that for Obi-Wan.
That combined with Rogue One too, like
Yeah.
that just makes A New Hope so much better.
yeah.
Because
And
yeah,
yeah, that's absolutely true. And when McGregor like teared up, he was like, "And truly, my friend is dead." I was like,
Yeah, I definitely teared up at that too, and his face,
"Yeah."
and like,
You
even
could see the
performance,
loss on his face.
he
Wow.
went above and beyond in
Yeah.
the show. Like,
And he said hello there at the end, like I knew he would.
I knew they were gonna throw it in
Yeah.
at some point.
He said it
Yeah,
exactly the way I wanted him to.
Yeah, the little things in that fight that I thought were cool that are just kind of like effects and stuff was there are a lot of shots and scenes where like the colors on like people's faces or like the reflections from like the lightsabers on like Vader's mask. Like
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys saw like pictures of like how detailed, like you can see the reflection on like his eye lens of his mask. I don't think it's quite on that scene. You can't really,
No,
but that color shadow is just like so freaking cool.
Yeah.
You could see when he was talking as Anakin, like you could see the blue hue of his face, like talking to him kind of as a friend, as a familiar, I would say.
face. Yeah,
And then he was just like you could see like the red lightsaber coming over his face. He was like, "I'm not your failure." And I was just like, "Oh, that was such a good line." Oh man.
Yeah, that the symbolism was so good with that.
Yeah.
I definitely noticed that
So
too.
great.
Yeah, I have those screenshots. I took a screenshot of like each stage of that scene. It's just not showing it, but it was like it went from like Obi-Wan's like both of them didn't have any color on them for like the start of it, I don't think. And then Obi-Wan's blue lightsaber came up a little bit, and then
That shot. That's great. That's straight up a comic book. That was good.
yeah,
shot.
some of
Sorry.
them
Go
did
ahead.
feel like comic book shots, or just like anime almost. Like some of them were like very unique. But yeah, then the very end had the red lightsaber.
And he said, "Are you going to destroy me, Master?" And he said, "I will do what I must." And he did I was like, "Oh yeah."
Yeah,
Then you will die. And he had a little speech to himself. Well, he was talking to Qui-Gon or whatever. Was cool. He was just like, "If one of us dies," and I was just like, "Nah, well, you're not gonna die. That's you should have taken that out. Like, we all know what's going to happen. Like, you're all just gonna fight each other, and then that was it." But yeah, I wish they didn't put that little scene of dialogue of him trying to talk to Qui-Gon again, or at least that phrase of "If one of us dies, let this be the end." Well, I guess that did happen because he said, "Truly, my friend is dead."
When he's underneath the rocks and he's having like flashbacks?
When he's on the ship still and he's about to leave to go fight Vader, and he's talking to Qui-Gon one last time. So I guess I just contradicted myself. But when he's talking to Qui-Gon, he's like, if one of us die, or one of us will die and one of us will live, let this be the end, or something like that. But I guess completing that, it was Anakin truly died in his mind. So that was basically the end of their quarrel
right.
until they meet again and he dies.
Yeah.
But in the change of that, when it comes to the movie, when they see each other again, Obi-Wan's just completely not the same person. No hatred in his heart for Vader, but Vader's still obviously hating on him, and he's just like, "All right,
Yeah.
become more powerful than you could ever possibly imagine." Just becomes a Force ghost.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that brings me to another point. Although I'm going to show this because this was like something that we had to see.
Yeah. I really liked it.
I wanted more, honestly.
Yeah.
The lines they chose, like, I'm all for like being a little lighthearted.
Took you long enough. I
yeah.
was like, fuck off. That's the dumbest thing you could have said, Liam Neeson.
I mean, he didn't say exactly that, but he implied it. Yeah.
You did not. He's like, you were not ready because you didn't want to see me or something. It was something along those lines.
You
like,
didn't see me because you weren't ready. And I was
Yeah.
just like, that's such a New Hope and Obi-Wan thing to say. It was like, well, I was kind of right. It's like, yeah,
Although Qui-Gon's character has kind of always had those kind of like very, very overly mentor lines.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, with the whole Force Ghost thing, it's actually like really complicated. He was the first Jedi to learn how to do it,
Yeah.
and
remember
so I trust that that's probably true. That Obi-Wan was cut off from the Force for years.
That's true.
And I feel like he was just always full of guilt, and
I wish they did.
he never helped anybody, and like.
Do you so when you say he's the first one, do you mean he's the first one as a ghost to be able to come back and appear to people, or he is the first Jedi to interact with other former fallen Jedi?
He's the first Force Ghost.
Okay.
All the other ones are just
Yeah, he's the first one that
they're the Force now, but he's contained himself.
Okay. So he's the first Jedi to
Yes.
appear as a ghost. Okay.
Yeah, so like in
How do you where have you learned that, or how did you know that?
It's deep meditation, I guess. I don't know.
how did I learn that? Deep meditation, I guess.
I don't know. I don't mean how did he learn it. That information.
How did I learn it?
Yes. How did you know that he is the first
Deep
to
meditation.
No. What is that?
Well, I guess you just you close your eyes and
Yeah.
You just learn information.
Yeah.
No, how did you know that?
I feel like it was in a game or a comic book. I don't remember.
They kind of established it in in Revenge of the Sith. Like Yoda tells Obi-Wan like that Qui-Gon has learned to commune from the other side of the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And so that Yoda has training for Obi-Wan while he's in exile.
Mm-hmm.
And then Obi-Wan clearly doesn't do it. And then the Clone Wars
He does speak to him.
season 6, Qui-Gon speaks to Yoda a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't bring his like physical form yet. At that point, he was still learning how to do it. And so
Yeah, I think you're right. I think just Yoda kind of gave the impression like Master Qui-Gon has learned this ability from beyond or something like that. So, yeah, I think you're right. I think it was just Yoda just brought it up in Revenge of the Sith.
yeah, so the whole time he probably could have been talking to Qui-Gon, but he cut himself off from the Force. But as far as like the information that he was the first, I'm pretty sure like George Lucas just established it because of that line from Yoda.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of ran with it.
Because, I mean, Qui-Gon was cool.
Before...
I mean, he was real, one of the realest Jedi. I mean, he was able to separate himself from the Council and also still be on the light side. Because he knew, it's kind of like, I don't know, being a Christian in a way. You're still able to separate yourself from the church, but also do the right thing and be a Christian.
Right. Yeah, the Jedi Council was always so caught up in the political side, and then the war happened, and that's all they cared about was winning the war.
Mm-hmm. And they just because that was the biggest bureaucracy thing was the Jedi were not a standing army. They're protectors. They're defenders. They're not attackers.
Keepers of the peace.
Yeah.
We are not soldiers.
Yeah, which
As Samuel L. Jackson says.
isn't even something he ended up believing, really.
No.
Yeah,
in the Clone Wars.
became one of the most murderous Jedi ever out there.
Yeah.
But Qui-Gon is the reason that Anakin even happened at all. So
If he didn't stop for parts in that one place.
Qui-Gon was more of like kind of what we just said, but like he was always more focused on like what the Force wanted and like didn't care about anything. Like he would always, there's like books and stuff that show this, but like you see it in the movie too. Like he's always like going against the Council's will, and like he's always just there to focus on like what the Force wants. And so that I think that is the big reason why he wanted to train Anakin, because he thought like
train the boy.
He's the chosen one, because it's what the Force was telling him. But so that's why I think he ended up being the first one to do this, because he was so like in tune with the Force's will.
Yeah, I liked the concluding scene on Tatooine of him like clearing out his place.
Yep.
Finally deciding to like take the toy ship
Give it to Luke.
to
Yeah.
Luke, and then Owen kind of coming around to
Yeah, letting him meet him.
meet
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, just because he was so scared that he would end up like his father. I mean, that was the first interaction they had. And he was like, "You mean like you trained your father?" Ooh,
Yeah.
ow, got me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I loved the shot of him packing up his stuff and him like putting on his like Jedi
Yeah.
like robe again from episode 3.
Yeah.
So he's like finally gotten past all of his guilt and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, him meeting little Luke was
Yeah. Really,
Saying
really
hello
good.
there finally.
yeah.
Hello there. Yeah. So
It took a little too long to say it. They were just staring at each other for like a minute. Hello there. Okay.
my biggest question, or I guess, are we finished talking about like specific scenes and stuff like that?
I think so.
Okay. My biggest question from this, after like seeing it all, is, are fans disappointed that we never got any like Luke scenes at all?
I mean, we have 3 whole movies of Luke being
Right.
Luke, so I don't think so.
I think they could do a spin-off of both of the kids growing up, but I feel like that's just too much information. I mean, maybe like 10 years down the line when they run out of content or something like that,
Yeah.
and they'll be like, all right, here's the adventures of Luke, and make
Or
a
they
cartoon
could just
out of
like
it.
wait for like 2 or 3 years for those 2 actors to like grow up just a little bit, and then like maybe do a series. But I wasn't like,
I don't think it's something people would want to see.
Yeah.
I don't want to see kids like
I
playing
think it
around.
would, if anything, it would just turn into a cartoon and be like a little kids show.
Yeah,
So
yeah, because anything like kids gonna do, like Luke stays on Tatooine his whole life,
yeah,
literally
And
just a farm boy. Like
they make it like they say it, or who says it? Obi-Wan says it. He's like, maybe he should just be a boy, and it's like, yeah, maybe he should leave him alone.
yeah.
But and then Leia is just growing up to be a rebel badass her whole
Yeah.
life. I think if anyone, it would be they would make a Leia spin-off and then just show Luke like fucking around doing something else. I don't know,
Yeah.
finding a girlfriend or something. But
he does kind of.
yeah, he doesn't let.
So no season 2?
There's rumors.
What do you think it'd be about? What do you think it'd focus on?
So if there's ever a season 2, I could see it focusing a lot on Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon talking a lot. And then Obi-Wan just focusing on protecting Luke. So maybe like another threat comes that isn't Vader to like try to get Luke or something.
I wonder who the
I
threat
don't
would
think
be.
a season 2 is going to happen. I don't really see a story there.
I feel like they could, excuse me, potentially bring them back. If there was something like that, I think the main villain would probably be from like an old Clone Wars episode or something. Like an enemy they didn't kill off or something. I don't know. Who did they not kill off?
I mean, the only other one that would have made sense was Maul, but he
I literally was about to say Darth
Yeah.
Maul.
he doesn't know about him until Rebels.
Yeah.
And then
They need to bring that actor
Obi-Wan's
back.
super old already.
What actor?
The guy who played Maul.
Oh,
Yeah, that's the guy who is the literal portrayal of Starkiller, the guy who was in Force Unleashed.
the voice, yeah.
Yeah, the voice guy.
In
The
Clone
face
Wars.
of the guy from Force Unleashed is the same person that plays
the voice.
the
of
voice
Maul.
for Darth Maul.
Sam Witwer is the actor that plays Darth Maul's voice in Clone Wars and Rebels,
Oh.
and he actually did the voice of him at the end of Solo as well.
So this guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
they basically just cut his face out and stuck him on the character of Force Unleashed. Same person.
Force Unleashed. Why am
The video
I...
game.
He's never played
That
it.
he pulled the Star Destroyer or the
Okay.
game. Yeah.
Okay. I have not played that game. No.
Okay.
I
That's
played.
anyway.
I
I
played
knew that wasn't going to go anywhere because he hadn't played it.
Never mind.
That's why I had
like-
to explain it a different way.
Gotcha.
Okay.
But yeah, So in Solo, at the very end, when Maul has like that random appearance, it's the same actor that played Maul in Episode 1, but it had the voice of Sam Witwer from Rebels and Clone Wars. So
Yeah.
that would be really hard to
He's a
do
good
with
voice
a lot
actor.
of scenes.
Yeah.
But
Or they could just make Sam Witwer.
He just was such a good villain that was just killed off too soon. I mean,
Takes him a long
obviously
time to
after they
die.
did the animated series, we find out he wasn't actually killed off. But
Yeah.
yeah, so they did it again where they did something too soon, where they showed Maul. Have you watched Rebels?
Mm-hmm.
Where they showed Maul like coming up to Obi-Wan and on Tatooine, and
yeah,
And then falling into his arms.
yeah,
it's a great scene, but yeah, that's something that would have been perfect for like a season 2 or something in
Yeah.
the show,
Yeah.
or a season
Just been
3.
like,
or
psych.
something.
Right away. I'll get you next time, Obi-Wan.
That's kind of what happened with Vader, though.
Yeah. I was surprised at how not easily, how many times Obi-Wan was able to slip away from Vader. Like, if it wasn't for him literally grabbing that ship out of the sky, like if it just flew away, I would have been like, Vader's really easy to dodge. But I don't know. I was just surprised at how many times he was able to slip away. And then the final scene with him and Sidious talking, and he was just like, "You won't get away again." He was like, "I think you're a little too hyped up about your boyfriend there, bud." And he's like, "All right."
yeah. Actually,
I love
that
you,
scene was
Master.
really, really good because there was the original actor.
And he looked old.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, they
which
made a
is
good
good.
job of like bridging the gap between Episode 3 and
Rebels. Rogue One.
so
you
you just
talking about?
distracted me with that.
Sorry.
With Revenge of the Sith and
Rogue One.
no, he doesn't
Solo.
show up in Rogue One.
Yeah, he does.
The Emperor?
Oh, the Emperor. I thought you were talking about Vader.
No.
Sorry.
In the original trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, he's supposed to look old and gross.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, it was
He
really good.
does.
So if there was ever going to be like something that comes off of this, I don't think it would be a season 2, but I do think there could be like a spin-off like Vader series.
That'd be so
that'd be
cool.
Like
Him having the Inquisitors and like
yeah.
hunting down random Jedi.
Yeah, just going
And
on
it
missions for
it
the Palpatine.
Bring in what was that guy that we noticed writing on the wall?
Quinlan Voss.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he could pop up.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
Like that's why I think if they name dropped him, like
Yeah,
Like the final little like, well, really, like they could easily do a Vader spin-off series where you actually start to see the creation and formation of the rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
Like an organized creation of the rebellion.
but I mean, yes, but we already have that in Rebels, and it's gonna be part of what Andor is gonna be about as well.
Oh.
So, if it's gonna be a Vader series, I would want.
No, I mean they could connect
They could connect it, yeah,
all
yeah.
of those things.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it's gonna be a Vader series, I would just want it to be
and I feel
focused
like it
on
would have
Vader.
been announced already if they were going to do that.
A
well,
season 2 or a
I mean,
spin-off?
they've had like what Acolyte and all that other stuff, like
Yeah, but
in the
they're-
rosters for what 5-6 years.
They're
now?
learning a lot as they go.
That's true.
Like a
Yeah,
lot of those
that's-
projects that were announced, half of them have been canceled
Okay. Yeah.
because like they clearly have been like learning what
Yeah.
people actually want and what does well.
Yeah, because I don't
Yeah.
think Boba Fett was necessarily like on the slate to be created. It was like while they were doing Mando that they were like,
Yeah,
we can do
something
something with this.
something that yeah, John Favreau basically wanted to do.
yeah, which could be the same kind of thing. It's like,
And
this-
I'm going
this
to be
could something
honest
we could do.
with Mandalorian and Boba Fett. I think Mandalorian shouldn't have even existed, and it should have just been Boba Fett the whole time.
Well, yeah, it was supposed to be.
Okay. Well,
It was originally
enough
supposed
said.
to be Boba Fett,
Really?
but
Yeah.
they didn't want to give them Boba Fett because they originally were going to have a movie about Boba Fett, and then that got canceled.
I don't know if a Boba Fett movie would have been really any good. I mean,
It was supposed to be basically what the first like 3 episodes of the show was about, of like him surviving and like coming
Okay.
back, but he wasn't supposed to. I don't think he was supposed to come back as like a crime boss or whatever.
yeah. Boba
Yeah.
Fett was weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Obi-Wan series was supposed to be a movie too, which I still think it should have been.
Yeah, should have been. That would've been
Like you
great
said,
movie.
like the amount of times that they escape Vader, like I feel like that was just them like drawing it out a little more. Like
God,
it
we
could have
need
just
one more episode.
done like a 2.5 hour movie and it would have been
I feel like what they
perfect.
should have done is distracted Vader with something else, or just not even brought him in and just had the Inquisitors been a bigger deal. Because I mean,
At first,
only,
at least, yeah.
yeah, or at all. I mean, who was a big deal? The third sister. She was the only one fighting. All the other ones were like, "Third sister, what are you doing?" And it's like, come on, let's like see the helicopter flying lightsabers.
Oh, I'm so glad they didn't do that.
And like, I would have liked to have seen like the ninth sister and like all the Fallen Order Inquisitors show up there too. Maybe
Well,
Cal
half of them
Kestis show
were
up
dead by
for
that
some
point.
reason. Yeah, you're right. But or even Cal Kestis showing up and just making a small appearance, or just a redheaded guy just walking by and been like, or I don't know, just
him.
I feel like he should have been distracted. He could have been distracted with Cal Kestis trying to find him because he was one of the Jedi that got away. But or I don't know. I feel like Vader should have been more distracted and not interacted with Obi-Wan as much, and just had more of like a mental, like, oh, I'm sensing like Obi-Wan or something like that. I don't know, because yeah,
They probably could have had the same result if Vader didn't show up until like the 4th episode.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
just had like the whole torture scene.
I mean,
on
it
the
didn't show up
4th,
until the 3rd
and then
episode.
get revived on the 5th, and then battle it out with the Inquisitors, and then have their fight scene.
I have a
But
hot take.
go for it.
I don't like the Inquisitors. Like, I don't like the concept of Inquisitors.
I don't either. Well, to a point, I do. I like that he's keeping them basically as slaves and holding their force powers down to a point to where they're not even Sith. They're just force-sensitive dummies that are angry. And I like that concept, but yeah, that it really destroys the rule of two.
Yes, it taints
Well-
the idea of like
Dark side people.
there's always 2. Well, okay, what? No, you have like 9 little like minions then also?
Well, I don't really care about that because Palpatine clearly does what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
The rule of 2 was established by Darth Bane.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, there were legions of Sith.
Right.
Just a random Sith decided, because he was so powerful, like, we're clearly struggling against a Jedi because we're always fighting with each other, so let's just cut us down to just 2. And
they all got
then look what
slaughtered.
happened to them because of that.
Yeah.
So Palpatine's the one that like changed that and actually made them prominent again. So I feel like he just kind of did whatever he wanted that he thought was good.
It could also be a placeholder for all the younglings that were still around that were kind of force sensitive, didn't know really their whole powers, had a lightsaber, didn't really know what they were doing. It could have like been the force balancing it out, and then once literally all the other Jedi were killed, all the Inquisitors died out too, and then there was just them 4. That could be it, but I agree with you that the Inquisitors are an unnecessary silliness.
Yeah, just because Darth Vader was supposed to be the one that hunted down the Jedi. And I mean, we never really see Inquisitors
Do anything.
kill. Well, I guess they hung that one Jedi on Tatooine, but
Well, yeah.
we don't really see them like
Strung him up by his armpits.
Yeah.
I was like, "Right."
successful.
You could have hung him.
Yeah.
See, it's Disney.
Yeah.
Or I mean, it was still
or at least hung him by his foot upside down or something. That would have been way cooler than like, "Oh, I'm hanging up by my
it was
armpits."
still kind of like morbid though. Like
Yeah.
they clearly
Yeah,
killed
for
him
sure.
in some way and then
For
displayed him. Like
For sure.
that's
Yeah,
a lot. It's like a scarecrow, a human scarecrow.
for sure.
But yeah, the Inquisitors never really are like super successful at hunting they hunt the Jedi, they just don't necessarily like kill the Jedi
Yeah.
Yeah.
very successfully. So
Vader always has to
I
come
like
in.
that part of it, that they're just that Vader just ends up coming in and fixing their mistakes anyways. But yeah,
Because he really is only powered by his hatred for Obi-Wan and his sadness of Padme and his literal physical pain.
yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I really don't think he gives a crap about the Jedi. Well, doing Order 66 kind of made him like prove himself that he was one of the more powerful Jedi. But I mean, other than that, I don't really think he cares about hunting down the Jedi. He just wants to kill Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but then we see like Palpatine at the end of this finale, like trying to get him back on course. Like it's not just about Obi-Wan. Even the
That's
Grand
true.
Inquisitor says that like there's a bigger picture here. We need all the Jedi and this secret underground
Does he
railroad.
say Jedi or? Oh yeah, I guess he did. I
Yeah,
think
he's
he
like-
meant like organization because he said like
The Jedi
we need
path.
to find the organization is more or the cut it at the root or something like that.
Yeah, the path that
Okay.
Obi-Wan was traveling with.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's who they were actually after.
Right.
But
Then he says, "Prepare my ship."
yeah. But yeah, he just does what Palpatine says, and that's why I think a spin-off series about that would be good. Of like Vader, like going back to just being Palpatine's like
Puppet.
puppet, yeah. Which would still be cool. Like seeing him go on missions for Palpatine would be so cool.
I think it would be cool if they did that and also added to the lore of Mustafar, like all the people that worshipped Vader because he took over their planet. I don't know if you know a whole lot about it, but like when Kylo Ren's running through some like burnt planet or whatever at the beginning of the third one of the sequels, he's like killing a whole bunch of people like through this forest, and that's Mustafar. But like the trees are growing back, like it's still smoking, but and all the people he's killing are Vader's worshippers. Like they worshipped Vader, and or at least the dark side, and because Vader took over their planet, and once Vader died, and stopped ruling that planet, the light side came back to the planet. And whatever. I think it would be cool if they did a series on that, or at least added that to it.
Yeah, there's a big portion of that VR game, the Vader
I never got to play
Immortal.
it.
I haven't
really
either, but
wanted
I've
to.
seen footage of it, and a lot of it has to do with Mustafar and like the mythology behind
Oh, my sister has
the
VR.
origins.
I should go buy that.
And they explain a lot of it in the comics too. I've read a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty interesting. What were we talking about?
We're talking about if there was going to be a season 2 or a spin-off
yeah.
series or anything like that.
Yeah.
If there was any character that hasn't already had a show about it in Star Wars, who would you want it to be about?
A character that hasn't had a series?
Yeah, it hasn't
Or-
had a series already.
But an existing character?
Yes. In any Star Wars universe, Legends or canon, that they could just like pop in, and it would fit this all the stories.
Pop
if you-
in to
The
like-
Disney universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like they would pop in and it would just
The,
like, fit
the
perfectly.
Disney Star Wars cinematic
Like-
universe.
Like yeah, like I personally
yeah, clearly you have one in mind.
Cal Kestis, obviously. I mean, his story. I know they're probably saving more of his story for the second game, but I don't know. I really liked his character. I liked that he was a youngling, and I think they could do more with that. Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
On like a movie or a series?
Not a movie, series.
A whole series about him?
I mean, like 4 or 5 episodes. I think it would be cool to see where he ends up.
I mean, he has to die.
I know, but well, he does.
He must die.
If he doesn't
He
die,
he
I'll
could
be
cut
mad.
himself off. Well, no, he could cut himself off from the Force, like Obi-Wan did, essentially, and live his rest of his life on, what was it, Endor? Was that the planet that he was on in the game? I don't remember.
No, it was.
But
He went to Kashyyyk.
no,
What planet are you talking
the first planet he gets to that the ex-Jedi master took him to find all the puzzles and stuff. It's like that giant puzzle planet
with
that
the
you go
the
to.
like the underground temple.
I forget what it's called.
I don't know either.
It doesn't start with an E, I think, though.
No. It starts with
I'll look it up. But anyways,
I can
yeah,
see the word in my head, but I don't know what it starts with.
I really like Cal Kestis' story.
What's the name of that game again?
Fallen Order.
I think it's cool to see it from a youngling perspective, because you always see it from the clones' perspective. You always see it from the Jedi Master's perspective, and like they did a glimpse of that in this series. Where what was it, like the first episode,
Ilum?
where there was
No.
Ilum. Is that right?
No, that's the ice planet.
Yeah, that's
Zepho?
Zepho, yeah. That's the one. With the temple.
Yeah. Ilum's the ice planet where you get your
Crystal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dathomir. I hated that planet on that game.
That's so cool, though.
It is a really cool planet, but I hated it. Anyways.
But I think they need to do more youngling perspective of Order 66, because it's terrifying. I mean, everybody wants to see more Order 66 because it was a traumatic event.
Yeah.
For millions of people, and yeah, I really want them to do more into that and play into like basically like the PTSD about all of it, and they did a good job of that in the game. But yeah, I just want more. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's only so many younglings that survived, so
Right. So I mean,
I don't know.
I think it would be cool.
Most of them
It'd be a limited series, obviously. So,
became
anyways,
Inquisitors.
back to my question: any character that you would want something more about?
So that one that, because your answer wasn't one that I was even thinking of, because I consider that part of the canon already. The Cal Kestis is part of the canon. But,
Right. Yeah, that's true.
so you're saying something that hasn't been in a movie or series that, okay.
yeah, that you would want, like comic books, characters from the comic books. I mean, even characters from Clone Wars that you could like hone in on, or anybody.
I would say Darth Bane.
That's a good one. Yeah, that
Either a
would be really
series
good.
or a trilogy or something, like, because
Do you
it
ever
was a-
think they'll go back that far?
I mean,
Well, they
I
they
think
might
they
in the what's that? Is it a series or is it a movie that's coming out of like?
the Acolyte.
It's
Oh,
not
the
that
High
one.
Republic?
It's
Is that what you're talking
the
about?
it's the one that's like way back.
The High Republic. That was a
That
book.
might be it.
There's like a bunch of books going on right now in the High Republic. That's not quite as far back as the Old Republic is. But no, there's nothing confirmed about a series about
I thought there
those
was
yet. There's rumors.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, who knows if there's any truth to them, but
Yeah, I think it could also be cool for them.
so Darth Bane is
I was gonna
Like-
say Revan, but I don't know.
like, I would want Revan too, but
He's so overdone already.
yeah, I think
They
we talked about that last time.
Yeah, they screwed him over.
So if they
The
did
second
Revan,
one.
they could fix him
Yeah, they could.
because he is canon, but only like in legend. Like we
Yeah.
don't know anything about him.
The
other than his name.
downside is we know Knights of the Old Republic 1, like the big.
Yeah,
and like
and
you
they're-
are Revan.
They're
So,
already like confirmed to be remaking that game, so I don't think we're gonna get Revan, but Darth Bane, I think, is more important than Revan because he's the one that started the rule of two.
Right.
You would see the fall of the Sith as they were back then.
As an empire.
Yeah, the whole Sith empire. So you would, because he basically kills all the Sith and all the Jedi at that point. And he's just a really, really cool character. Really, like,
I've been meaning
just
to read
pure
his book.
evil, but like with lots of like understandable motivations. But yeah, it's a trilogy of books, so it would be so cool to see either like a 3-season series or a trilogy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that would be also really good for just casual people to see like more on the Sith side and to see like where they come from, because a lot of
what
people
we
will
see
just
is light
assume
side
like,
stuff.
you know, Darth Vader's a villain with a red lightsaber. You see a red lightsaber, like, oh, they're just a bad guy. Like, what does Sith even mean? Like, they don't really explain it in the movies at all.
They kind of did in Phantom Menace, and they were like, oh, the Sith died out generations ago, or thousands of years ago.
Yeah, very vague explanations.
And it made you think that Maul was like a species known as Sith, and that's what I thought when I first saw it. And later on, I learned, oh no, it's, you know, a type of Force user.
Yeah, like a religion.
Yeah, a religion.
Yeah.
But for years, I thought that Maul was a Sith. So So yeah, they could definitely do a better explanation of, you know, the dark side of things, because there's so many dark side books. I mean, Darth Plagueis. They could do something about that.
That's my answer.
Okay, yeah, Darth Plagueis. I went through that book a couple of years ago. It was very wordy, but if you hang in there, it's really good.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of has to be because it involves
A plot.
Like, yeah, that whole
literal plot. Yeah.
that he explains in.
Yeah, I think it would be a cool series, which they like sort of did a little bit in, I think, Clone Wars, about like Sifo-Dyas and who was the other? Who was his master?
I don't know.
It was in
I
that
don't
episode.
remember.
It's like the other person that's in the episode with him, because like Yoda like stumbles upon them and like helps them out in that episode.
I don't remember.
I have to look it up now.
Anyways, like I think that because he was like the one who like put in the order for like the clone army, and like he is like the Jedi that had like the ability of foresight, and like I think he would be a cool one to like have a series about.
A whole series?
Okay, maybe a movie. Maybe a movie.
Well, I think it would be maybe a good short series,
Yeah, I mean,
like just 4 episodes or something, just for them to keep pumping out content. I guess just for them to be like, all right, well, here's a layover until Acolyte comes out or something. But yeah, Plagueis would be really good. I think the
just realized I had Luke on the screen this whole time.
Yeah, I almost said something earlier, but
what was the name? The Great Schism. I think that would be really cool.
Great Schism.
The Jedi Schism, where they took the dark side users and threw them onto the Sith planet and like exiled them, and then seeing the dark side users literally take over the Sith planet and intermingle with them, and literally intermingle with them, and have babies with them, and seeing. And even the Mandalorian Wars, that would be really cool, just because Boba Fett and the Mandalorian just came out, and you could learn more about what they really were back then.
Yeah,
True
I mean,
monsters.
That would be a good setup for like a Revan story too. 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one that
Started it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah, that would be cool.
Malik would be really good in that, and oh man,
Yeah.
that would be a really good one.
I've always thought a young Mace Windu would be kind of cool.
That would
Like
be
they could
interesting.
easily just find like a super young, like
Samuel L. Jackson would never let that happen.
really.
I really doubt it. I think Samuel L. Jackson would be more prone to coming back and
Yeah,
saying he never died.
Constantly begs to come back.
Yeah.
Disney.
Did you see?
I mean, his character's dead.
Did you see the Star Wars Theory
Allegedly.
little mini movie that he made?
No.
He made a Darth Vader. I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes or something like that, and it showed like the clones were still around, and they were breaking into, I think, an old temple or something, and they dug into this hole, and he was just like, all right, go in there, and a bunch of clones go in there, and you hear a lightsaber ignite, and you see like purple hues like flashing across, and all of them dying, and Darth Vader jumps down in there, and Mace Windu turns around, and he has like a cybernetic eye, and he's all like messed up, and
I've seen artwork about it.
Yeah.
but it was really good because I mean he put all of his own money into, I think it was like $500,000 or something like that, something crazy amount that he just poured into like a 5-minute little snippet. But it was like they had the 501st Legion there. They were always wanting to do stuff. He made his own Vader outfit, and yeah, they had to obviously not have Samuel L. Jackson in there, otherwise it would cost millions of more dollars. But yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, I haven't even heard of that. I would always be fine with Mace Windu coming back because like he just falls out a window. Like
Yeah.
as far as Star Wars injuries goes,
Well,
like
didn't he
that's
get cut
pretty.
in half?
His arm got cut off.
Okay.
And then he just got zapped.
Who
and thrown
hasn't?
out a window.
Yeah, who hasn't got zapped
has-
by this?
But
by the Senate?
Star Wars
Most
has,
everybody's missing an arm.
Star Wars
Yeah.
has a really big problem of just bringing people back from the dead. So
true.
and
if
just
they
cutting
were-
people's limbs
That's why
off.
I think I would actually prefer like a really young Mace Windu, like as a like
Yeah.
Padawan series. Like I think that'd be kind of cool.
Who is Windu's master? Was it just Yoda?
I think it was just Yoda. Yeah.
Okay, that would be cool. Also to see Yoda younger again.
Yeah, I mean he's in the High Republic series right now. So if they ever did,
Wait, he was alive during the High Republic?
he's
What?
900 years old in the movies.
I thought
Mace Windu?
I thought it was like. I thought
Yoda.
the High Republic was like thousands of years ago.
High Republic is just like 200 years before the movies.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I miscalculated.
So Yoda is fairly prominent in it.
That's cool.
I think
He's still a master?
he's a master, but he's not the Grand Master.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I think he's on the council at that point.
That's awesome.
But he's
I need
like
to read
mostly
those books.
focused on like teaching.
Yes, he should.
Yeah, those books are doing really well. I've read most of the first one, and I've read a few of the comics, and they're really good. I really hope they do like some kind of movie or show about it eventually.
Yeah.
That's another thing they're just kind of like testing the waters on, though.
Trasa is his master, along with
Sifo Dyas?
Yoda. No,
Oh.
Never heard of them.
it's like T'_RA and then SAA. Some chick without a nose.
Yeah, I don't know.
Stupid pop-ups.
I have no idea.
Never seen her. Or him.
But yeah, like by the time we see Mace Windu, he's already on the council, so he'd probably hadn't had a master in years at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know if I don't think Samuel L. Jackson would let it happen without him being heavily involved, at least. But
And I feel like
yeah.
the really only hardcore nerds would be the ones watching it, not just casual viewers. They would just be like,
yeah,
Mace Windu died, so who really gives a crap? And
The problem
he was
is
kind of a jerk to
he's-
Anakin.
he-
yeah, he wasn't like a likable character really.
Yeah, he's kind of D-hole.
Yeah, if he were to be involved with like flashbacks or anything like that in a series of a younger version of himself, he's aged so much. That would cost so much money to de-age that man.
I don't know.
It's not that he can't be de-aged.
You know how young he looks in.
Did you see Captain Marvel?
Yeah.
when they de-aged him in that.
That was bad.
The movie's bad? I like the movie. But
No, the de-aging.
the de-aging
You
wasn't
like
bad.
Captain Marvel?
I love Captain Marvel.
Oh my!
But it wasn't his
It was
face.
a good movie. The Captain Marvel as a character is bad.
Oh no, I think the opposite. I think it was the worst film that Marvel's ever put out.
I'd say.
What?
The plot is so bad.
What?
Yeah.
I think the movie was good, but her character development doesn't exist. It just goes.
Yeah. She's not a good actress.
I wouldn't say the acting part. I meant like her character. Like she's arrogant the whole time, gets her powers, defeats the bad guy, still arrogant a-hole the whole time. Even when she goes to meet all the other Avengers, she's still an a-hole.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Still a good movie.
it's a good movie. Wouldn't watch it again. But
Yeah, same.
Have you seen it?
I would
since you
watch
saw
it just to
first
see
time?
all the flashbacks of the
Yeah.
movie stuff.
I've seen it, I think, a total of 3 times.
Wow.
It's fine. Like it's just like meh.
What is the worst Marvel?
Is it worse than
Probably Iron Man 3.
Thor Dark World?
No, Iron Man 2 is bad.
Iron Man 2 isn't that bad, in my opinion.
It's rough to watch. Like the whole drinking scenes, and he's like, "Oh, I'm an alcoholic." Is that the second one, or is that the third one?
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
the
second
second one. When he
He's like,
fights.
"Oh, I'm partying." And
Oh,
it's like,
yeah.
Fights with-
woohoo. I'm like, all right, this is dumb now.
I mean, that's the point,
basically,
though.
War Machine
Yeah.
becomes a thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I didn't mind it. The
And the characters of War Machine just suddenly doesn't exist anymore because Robert Downey Jr. didn't like the other
Yeah.
actor that played him, and he's just like
The guy
100
who
pounds
played
skinnier
Rhodey.
and shorter and a lot more black, and it's like, I noticed that.
was it? I thought it was because that guy didn't want to come back.
He didn't.
Oh, I thought it was
But
because
it
Robert
probably
Downey
is
Jr.
because
like
he
him.
didn't like Robert Downey Jr. I've heard a lot of things that Robert
I
Downey Jr. is not.
I
a
thought it
great guy to
was
work with.
Robert Downey Jr. didn't like him, and he's mad at Robert Downey Jr. for doing that to him.
I think that's what he's been saying recently because Marvel's so huge. But back then, I think he was embarrassed to do that movie and he didn't want to come back.
That's
Because
true,
at first,
'cause-
Iron Man didn't do that well.
No.
Yeah,
It was the very first,
yeah.
Yeah.
like they were like desperate
Yeah.
to make something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it didn't do that well at first. So I think, pretty sure that's the actual story. And then after it's been successful, like the biggest franchise ever,
Yeah.
the guy's like, that guy is nuts. I don't know if you've read anything about him, but he, I
Well,
saw a
that whole
video
cast
recently.
and crew is really, really strange. Like that guy who faked a hate crime or whatever was on that show.
On his show.
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? Empire?
Empire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy, I forget his name, the actor's name,
I know
but
who you're
he,
talking about.
the
We've
guy
all
that
seen
plays Rhodey,
Yeah.
um,
In the
he
first one.
like doesn't believe that math is real, or something like that.
Okay.
And
Alright.
he has been spending.
It's like one of the only constants in life, but that's all right.
He's been spending like ever since basically Iron Man. He's been spending his like entire career outside of acting, or not a career, his whole life outside of acting, trying to prove this one specific like equation or something like that. That he's trying to prove that it isn't real, that it doesn't actually work.
So he's like a flat earther, but dumber.
Yes.
Cool.
Like, does he
will-
know how everything works? Everything.
There's a channel. I don't know if anyone out there knows of Simon Whistler's YouTube channels, but he like goes into like a big, huge like rant about like how dumb this guy actually could be to actually think math isn't real.
My goodness.
Like this, he's like, this is why actors you don't trust actors. Just because they're an actor doesn't mean they're smart.
I understand that like it's a construct, but it's not like it's. Like
I
a
can
made-up
understand
construct like
hating
society.
math and being like, "Oh, that's nothing that I ever want to like learn."
Yeah,
or know
I
about."
despise math.
Totally fine that.
Yeah.
But to spend years of your life trying to prove that it doesn't exist when it's existed for
Yeah.
thousands of years, like
I don't exactly know I forget
That's
what
wild.
it actually is. I don't think it's like he doesn't believe math exists, but it's like certain like tiers of math and like certain like proven equations that he thinks are fake, like they were made up. Which, I mean, technically math is made up, but it's like math is a scientifically proven method of solving.
Yeah, I mean, they even
Specific
put it on the
problems.
satellites whenever they were trying to find aliens, just because it's like one of the only constants.
I mean,
in
math
life
is in
math.
nature.
Yeah.
Like that's how like
Literally, the word
physics
multiply.
of like nature works. That's how like
Right.
Yeah.
air works. What the?
I'll try to find that video and send it to you guys, and I'll put it in the description of this podcast, so people can watch that. Yeah.
Wow.
My goodness.
So getting back to Star Wars.
We went on a lot of tangents there.
Getting back to Star Wars, what do you guys think was Ewan McGregor's and Hayden Christensen's favorite scene? Them fighting as Darth Vader and Obi-Wan, or having that flashback?
I don't know. It's really hard to read Hayden Christensen.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you like saw any of the Star Wars Celebration footage from a few months ago, like a couple months ago. But like, he seems happy to be back and everything, which is good.
Yeah.
I think he's standoffish. He's trying to keep his guard up because he got relentlessly tortured for playing Anakin.
Yeah, and you can tell he's actually happy about being back and like all the love that he's receiving and stuff. But it's just hard to like kind of read him. Because when like people are asking about like how was it like playing Darth Vader and like the next step in like Anakin's story, and he kind of gives like a really vague answer.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I want to assume it's probably them being back in their like old costumes and like
Talking regular to each other.
yeah,
I would say
doing
like
those
the
flashbacks.
The flashback. You can like see like a little bit of like a twinkle in his eye in that scene when they're like
Both of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure he loved like being in that suit and like
Finally being Vader.
playing Vader.
Because I think he had an interview saying like, this is what it's always built up to. I'm finally at an age where I'm appropriately able to be Vader, and like the length of time it took, or something like that. And he said it felt right.
Yeah.
So
Are you cold?
I've been cold this whole time.
Yeah,
I've been shivering this whole
freezing.
time.
Oh, you're like shivering over there. I'm like, oh my.
I've
that's
been
why I'm
shivering
like
this whole
over here
time.
going like,
Yeah.
arms are cold.
But yeah, I mean, he was in the suit at the end of Revenge of the Sith. He
Yeah.
was the one in that suit.
True.
But-
But yeah.
But
I
yeah, it's
think
different when you're actually like doing scenes and stuff.
actually talking as Vader.
Yeah.
Not just James Earl Jones just talking over you.
Yeah.
But
Which the James Earl Jones voices in this one sounded so much better than in Rogue One.
yeah,
He sounded so old in Rogue One.
for sure. Because I think they took.
Oh, I thought they used AI for this.
They haven't said what they've used yet.
I feel there were
sounded
certain
great.
points in it where I was like, it sounds like they took some of the vocalization from the original trilogy.
Like they did
because
with
it
Luke.
was too good.
They did that with Luke and the Mandalorian,
Yeah.
or in Boba Fett.
Yeah, and just like some of the dialogue was like it was right on, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that sounds fabricated. Because James Earl Jones is like what 90,
Yeah.
so he's probably like.
But he had a lot of dialogue in these last two episodes that I don't think were pulled from like previous dialogue. So I really want to see. I want to see like their behind the scenes gallery thing for this show. I hope they make one.
Yeah.
Because I really want to know how they did Vader's voice.
Yeah. I'm thinking they did AI for it. I don't think they would have gotten James Earl Jones to come
He was
back.
Because he's credited in it.
Well, probably because it is his iconic voice that they're mimicking to credit him for the voice, but I just don't think he was like
Maybe.
involved in the recording.
Who knows? But I kind of feel like they might have combined some of Hayden's lines and just like processed it to make it sound like it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
could be.
Like,
Yeah,
they
yeah.
used some sort of
Because
like,
they did that
voice
in Revenge of the
changer to do it.
Sith,
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
which just sounded good.
Well, I have some thoughts about that, but yeah, I really, because man, like the way he was saying Obi-Wan and like then you will die, like just it was perfect.
Yeah.
The way that they did it was perfect. The
Yeah.
vocalizations, they did everything perfect. So I feel like they just took it from the original and just cut it up into pieces and just made it sound great. But I don't know, maybe James Earl Jones just pulled one last hat out of his butt and just made it work.
I don't know.
But any other thoughts about Star Wars?
I mean, we covered a lot. We covered basically everything.
Did you know Zach Braff was that weird farmer dude that picked up? I did not know that until I rewatched it. I was like, Zach Braff, what is it? And I was like,
Who's that?
Scrubs. JD.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
He was the,
He
I
was the
think
big
it's episode
guy
3.
that went
he was like
picked up the guy. He was like, come on, hop into my
he was
truck.
like the mole guy, the mole alien.
That was Zach Braff?
Yeah.
What
His
the?
voice, yeah.
Dang. That's cool.
I knew his voice sounded too friendly.
Yeah, that's another weird thing that like Mandalorian and this show kind of has is like they don't make the aliens sound foreign enough.
Yeah, they're like, hey, buddy,
Yeah.
how's it going? Jeez. All right.
It's
Or
it's just-
have them speak other languages.
hardly
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
So I don't know what that's about.
Maybe.
I mean, I know that the Mandalorian is just because of Dave Filoni for some reason doesn't like alien languages because he does that in Clone Wars and stuff. But
that's lame.
I
Take a page out of J.R.L. Tolkien book and write a
Yeah.
whole language.
Yeah.
I mean, most of like the Huttese language, like Jabba's language, has been written out.
Yeah.
As it should. It was kind of a silly language. But yeah, they cartooned it a little too hard in The Mandalorian with
Like the very first scene in season 1 of Mandalorian, like his very first bounty that he does.
the
The guy is just
old
like,
guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's like just kind of reminds me of Star Trek.
Yeah.
But yeah, there could be worse things.
Mhm.
All right, any other thoughts? We went for an hour and 45 minutes, so longer than I expected.
Yeah, I think I'm good. I think I got all my thoughts out of my brain.
All right, well, thanks for joining me, and to anyone listening, it does help if you subscribe and like and review us and everything like that. So we will see you next time.